Howdy. Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Ferret Cafe podcast with me, the one and only YemmytheFerret. I hope you are all having a great weekend. If you're listening to this on the VOD, I hope you had a good week or weekend. But here we are. We're here. We are recording this live. If you want to check out the live podcast and you want to be a part of that podcast by doing sound commands, chatting in the chat, and all that stuff, you gotta swing by the live stream, the live podcast recording every other Thursday. The Thursday before Film Freaks is released. Yeah, I hope everyone's having a real nice week. Me personally, it's been busy. It's been busy. But here we are. Yeah, so I hope everyone's doing good. Welcome on in to General Kenobi and Callus, both in the live chat right now. Now, you don't have to get a cup of joe if you don't want a cup of joe. Me personally, I'm just got some water here. Toasty. You could also have tea. You could also have Coca-Cola. You could also have hot chocolate. Whatever you want. Whatever you feel like it. Today was actually a relatively warm day. It was in the 60s, which is kind of weird for February. But global warming doesn't exist, right? So today we got a decent lineup of topics. My other plan for the episode did not go through. We'll try again next time. But today we're talking Loki, we're talking Hell's Kitchen, and we're talking the Super Bowl, because that's this weekend that I'm recording this. So sit back and relax as I tell you about how bad Popeyes chicken is. Yeah, that's kind of the first thing I wanted to talk about, because it's just been eating me away. We've recently, around me, gotten a Popeyes, and we also recently got a Cane's. We got a Cane's about two years ago. Raising Cane's, if you don't know. That's also a chicken place, and they're pretty famous. You know, world-renowned chicken at both of these places. And me personally, being a fan of chicken, all right, I was very excited to be getting more options other than just Chick-fil-A. If you don't know, Chick-fil-A is a bit weird with their various dealings, but they make good chicken, right? They make good food. We don't go there a lot, but every time I go to Chick-fil-A, it's relatively good. I like their chicken sandwich, I like the spicy chicken, I like the grilled chicken, I like the chicken poppers. The waffle fries are unique, and they got pretty good milkshakes over there too, I gotta say. I'm a big milkshake guy. If you don't know me, I like milkshakes. I like Frosties. Recently, the Shamrock Shake is back, and the mint chocolate chip shake at Arby's, which I know this is going to be pretty hard to hear for you people who love the Shamrock Shake, but the Arby's mint chocolate shake is better in my opinion. I mean, the Shamrock Shake is still good, but damn, the mint chocolate chip shake at Arby's during this time of year is better in my opinion. So anyway, Raising Cane's has like chicken strips for their chicken. We went there like 2 times. Well, we weren't really that impressed. It's just chicken, you know, with maybe a little bit of extra pepper on it. I don't know. The Raising Cane sauce, not my favorite thing ever. The crinkle fries, lunch cafeteria, frozen style. It comes in styrofoam containers, which I guess is a vibe, but not really that great. The Texas toast, bland, yeah, just bread. I mean, you know, the sweet tea, too sweet, and I'm a person who loves sweet tea. I drink copious amounts of sweet tea when I'm at a restaurant. Okay, I get the unlimited sweet tea almost every weekend during football season at Buffalo Wild Wings. too sweet. I'll say it. No one else will. And their chicken sandwich, Raising Cane's chicken sandwich, is just 3 chicken strips on a fucking bun. What the fuck is that? So I gave it like, I didn't rate it, but you know, it was just one of those things like we had it twice, we tried it twice, no more. In rolls Popeyes. Popeyes goes in at the location that was my childhood Wendy's. Yeah, yeah. Lots of good memories at that Wendy's. It's one of these unique buildings that it's got like a dining area, and it also has like a side area that you can kind of sit in too. And me and my grandmother would always sit in the side area because it was just kind of cozy and cool. And I would eat chicken nuggets, and I would dunk them in chocolate frosty. Along with my fries. Which I guess is more normal now. But back in the day, you know, they see me dunking chicken nuggets into frosty. People start to look at me weird, right? Maybe they still do. I don't know. But anyway, Popeyes moves in, and the line is so long. We don't. I mean, it's been around for at least half a year at this point, maybe more. And the line is never short. Like it's never short. We drive by, we go, maybe we'll try it today. No, maybe we'll try. Look, I'm not gonna wait an hour for fast food. It's supposed to be fast food. You got it? You dig? They have 2 drive-thrus. They only utilize 1. Probably because they're understaffed, which is unfortunate, but it really starts to show with their fucking food. Maybe it's just the Popeyes around me, I don't know, but everything kind of went wrong from the get-go. They were out of, like, chicken nuggets. They were out of blackened chicken tenders. You know, they didn't seem well organized. Ended up getting a blackened chicken sandwich, some regular tenders, and mac and cheese, mashed potatoes. I don't think we got anything. Well, also it comes with like biscuits, 2 biscuits. And you know, it's like a 15-minute wait for the food. It's not that bad. And we go home. And I open up my chicken sandwich, and I'm like, oh, this looks good. I take a bite. Ice cold. I mean, not ice cold, but cold. Cold. A cold chicken sandwich. Must have been sitting under that heat lamp for at least 3 hours. I don't know. Cold. Absolutely stone fucking cold. It still tasted good, but it was cold. If it was hot, it would probably be an A tier sandwich. But it was cold. It was ice fucking cold. So that's like a B tier or lower, honestly. And then the mashed potatoes, I didn't eat any, but my other half did, and she said they were F tier. F tier. Damn. And then we had the biscuits, and they're just like dry, not flaky. Everything a biscuit shouldn't be, right? It was pretty much that. It crumbled in your hands. It didn't taste great. There was no like butter slathered on top. You know, a little bit of butter here and there, right? No, none of that. Like a C tier biscuit. The mac and cheese literally tasted like buffet mac and cheese. I don't know what to say. It tasted like the mac and cheese you get out of a slop bucket at the local fucking buffet. You know, it was just like, wow, this is what I'm getting, huh? I mean, C tier because mac and cheese is still good even at its worst, but I was expecting more. I was expecting more. And then the chicken tenders. I mean, my other half described the chicken tenders as something you'd be able to get at a amusement park, and she was right. It definitely tasted like the chicken tenders you would get at like Cedar Point or Kennywood or Hershey Park, something like that. Just like a fast, you know, we were here, we saw, we got chicken tenders, we left, right? But that's selling the food at Cedar Point short a little bit, because the food at Cedar Point is actually pretty good. Even like the local stands, like there's this French fry stand called the Happy Fryer. I always get French fries from there. It's the best. Am I going off topic? Yes, because do I want to talk about Popeyes anymore? No, I had a terrible experience. And people online say the same thing as me about their experience. Not good. Instead of we are not giving Popeyes a second chance like Cane's. Nope, we are not. We are not. going back. Not going back. So, sorry, Popeyes. You lost. You lost the chicken battle. You know, there was a time when the chicken sandwich was huge. People were fighting in the parking lots for a Popeyes chicken sandwich. I don't understand. I don't understand. It's not that good. Even at its best, it was A tier. Unfortunately, Chick-fil-A just has S tier, and it's got it locked, you know? Like, and also Chick-fil-A has the grilled chicken patty, which is also really freaking good. I'm sorry. Yeah, they just cannot. They cannot beat the place that's closed on Sundays, which is unfortunate.
Greetings.
Neither Cane's nor Popeyes could beat the one and only Chick-fil-A. I think Chick-fil-A even has like KFC beat, in my opinion. I don't know. I know that there's some people who don't like Chick-fil-A, the food. You know, I get it. Everyone's tastes are different. But to me personally, if I'm going for chicken and a chicken sandwich, it's either Chick-fil-A or, ooh, surprise contender. It's like Smash Bros. When you unlock a new character. Boom, here comes McDonald's. Ronald McDonald comes in, he's like, hey! He slaps you in the face. Try my spicy chicken sandwich! And it's like, oh my god. It's just, it comes in a little baggie. It's steaming. You take it out. The spicy chicken sandwich from McDonald's.
You think that's fucking funny?
Is actually good. The spicy chicken sandwich from McDonald's is actually good. It's got a little spice to it. It's got the right amount of pickles. The bun, nothing special, but it's a pretty damn good sandwich. That's A tier, at least, you know. So McDonald's does try. Ronald McDonald, he's over there spreading his ass cheeks and pooping out these chicken sandwiches, and they taste fantastic. They're probably just fried in the same vat as any other thing from them, but still, they taste good. The spicy chicken sandwich actually good. I would eat Grimace's ass for a free life supply of McDonald's spicy chicken sandwiches. But still, it doesn't beat the spicy chicken sandwich from Chick-fil-A. But if you need a substitute for Chick-fil-A because you don't like Chick-fil-A or you don't like their practices, which I don't either, don't get me wrong, I think their practices are pretty shit if you look into it. McDonald's is a good option in terms of just a regular chicken sandwich or a spicy chicken sandwich. The McChicken, maybe stay away from that, but the deluxe chicken sandwiches, those are the ones to get, folks. If you're looking for a substitute for anything, any kind of chicken sandwich in your area, McDonald's. Surprising, I know, it's very surprising. When I tried one when they first came out, I was not expecting much. I was not expecting it to be actually good, and here I am, talking to you guys about spreading open Grimace's ass cheeks and taking a big old slurp down the middle. So, life is good, folks. Life is good. All right, let's actually get to the first topic here. Podcast message is on. It just hasn't shown up yet. It shows up every 5 minutes. All right, so we're talking about Loki. We're talking about Loki season 2. I don't remember when I watched season 1. I think it was around the time that it came out. But I did wait on season 2 for a little bit because, you know, I'm a busy guy. You know, what do you want me to say? I'm too busy playing fucking Foam Stars or something. I don't know. And so season 2 of Loki is out and it is available on Disney Plus. Everything Marvel related is on Disney Plus. I guess on Hulu now too. I guess. Well, maybe it's kind of. Never mind. Forget I said that. The Marvel stuff isn't on Hulu, but there is stuff that's on Hulu only that is also on Disney Plus. You get my drift. So if you don't know what Loki is, or who Loki is played by, what is his face? Tom Hiddleston, who used to be, and he probably still is. Honestly, he is still. He's a heartthrob for many people. I remember in high school, or maybe it was like early college, so whenever the Avengers movie came out, and Tom Hiddleston was being rizzed up. That's not how you add quotes, by the way. We're gonna try that again. Tom Hiddleston was like the heartthrob of America. I mean, really. Well, I mean, I don't think he's American. I think he's from the UK, but still, like every girl that I knew was obsessed with Tom Hiddleston for quite some time. And like I said before, he's still got it. He's still a very handsome looking man. And I think that in terms of Marvel characters who did not oversaturate the market, I think Loki is kind of high up there, because even when he had like big roles in movies like Avengers or Thor 2, right? He was in Thor 2. It wasn't overbearing. It was kind of just the right amount, and they didn't like overuse him in like he didn't show up in like every single freaking Marvel property. He was just kind of there when he needed to be. And I think that the events of Endgame and Infinity War paved a good path for this version of Loki that we have right now. That being Loki, who is essentially captured by the TVA, the Time Bureau people who are trying to keep the timeline safe and all that stuff. And he gets recruited by them to help hunt down the other variant Lokis, because each branching path creates variants and blah, 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 blah. It's all in season 1. I don't need to rehash any of that stuff. I'm sure you all know the lore. Maybe. But season 1 was really good. I think it went to some really odd places for sure. But it is one of those. It's one of those seasons that it really needs season 2 to latch onto it. So when season 1 ended, it was kind of like, oh, I really want to watch the rest of this, because season 1 ends on a very interesting note, where Loki is actually like pushed back in time. You know, and he like no one knows him at the TVA anymore and whatever. And it's just one of those. It's one of those notes. It's like, oh, that's interesting, because at the end of season 1, they kill He Who Remains, and you know, it's one of those things. It's like the actor behind it is a shit person. He was arrested for, actually, he was tried and convicted of domestic abuse, battery. So we're not going to talk about He Who Remains, the actor. We're talking about He Who Remains, the character. Okay? That is who we're talking about here. And he did a great job in that like final 2 episodes that he was in the season 1, just showing off the character and why he could be a threat or is a threat, right? And people were speculating like, oh, he's, you know, He Who Remains is going to be like the big bad villain of the Marvelverse. And they turned away from that, of course.
Wow, what a hole.
But essentially, Sylvie is a variant of Loki who is a female, and she is the one that Loki is sent to track down and try and find in season 1. They eventually find her. There's kind of like this weird love arc, which doesn't actually materialize into love, okay? But essentially they track down He Who Remains. They find out that the TVA is like just it's pretty much just set up as like a spoof. You know, they got these like robot guys, the timekeepers, who are fake, and you know they're all living under this assumption that, you know, whatever. So they find him, Sylvie kills him, and that kind of breaks the timelines as a whole. And essentially season 2 picks up, and Loki is time slipping. He's going back and forth in time, future, past, present. So sometimes he's in the past, sometimes he's in the future. Sometimes he affects things in the past that affects the future. And the present, of course, he's, you know, he's also sometimes slipping into the present where everyone knows him, and then he goes into the future, and the TVA is being like broken up and destroyed because of the massive amounts of branches that are happening because of the death of He Who Remains. He Who Remains was essentially watching the sacred timeline, they call it, to make sure that it didn't go out of whack. Well, now with him not being there, no one watching the sacred timeline, it's branching off into many different different timelines. So essentially, Loki tracks down a person named Ouroboros, who is shortened to OB, played by Ki Hoi Kwan, who, if you don't know, got an Oscar last year for his performance in Everything Everywhere All at Once. He was also Short Round in Indiana Jones, if I remember correctly. But OB is like the meat and bones of the TVA. He's the guy who does all the tech stuff. He's essentially like the maintenance man for the TVA. He wrote the TVA handbook, which shows up in the first season, but doesn't get really fleshed out until the second season, obviously. And essentially, he helps Loki and Mobius stop the time slipping. And in order to do that, Loki had to essentially not really kill himself, but he had to use that little wand thing to prune himself. It's called pruning, which essentially sends you to some like black hole, black matter, the freaking purgatory type area. But between going to that area, you turn into like little bits of time, and Mobius had to go out into the time radiation area and fish Loki out of that. So essentially, Loki, it goes really down to the wire. Like, oh no, I don't know if Loki's gonna make it in season 2, episode 1. Buddy, he prunes himself eventually, and then he shows back up in the TVA without time slipping. So that's kind of like the first episode of the season, and I thought that the season started off on a great note. OB is a great character. You know, you get to reacquaint yourself with everyone else in the TVA, like B-15. Sylvie shows up at the end. She's working at McDonald's in Oklahoma in like the 60s or something like that. And if you didn't think that this was going to be so McDonald's heavy today, I just want to say that McDonald's shows up a lot. McDonald's shows up a lot in this season of Loki. It was, I don't know if it was sponsored or whatever, but it's like 5 out of the 7 or 8 episodes that McDonald's, I'm sorry, there's only 6 episodes, so it's like 4 out of the 6 episodes McDonald's shows up. It's kind of crazy, and they're like, and you know, when they go to McDonald's, they're like, Mobius is like complimenting the apple pies and stuff. It's very complimentary towards McDonald's. It's just very strange. It kind of takes you out. It kind of takes you out of it a little bit, because they're like so focused on like McDonald's. Ooh, these fries are so good. Ooh, the apple pie is so good. It's like, okay, we get it. McDonald's is great. I'm loving it, right? It took me out of the show a little bit when they just kept ending up at McDonald's, and I guess the worst interaction was when Mobius is waiting for Loki to kind of talk to Sylvie and try and patch things over with her, where he's just like sitting there talking about how much he loves McDonald's. It's just so weird. It's very weird. But anyway, eventually episode 2 comes around, and I need to track down a person at the TVA named X5. And I forgot to mention, but one of the generals at the TVA, General Dox, sent a bunch of hunters to try and find Sylvie. What they're actually doing is something different, but they, that's the thing that she says that they're going to do. At this point, the TVA is already kind of overloading from all the branches. Like there's this like thing that twists the branches and makes power for the TVA, and if that like Tesla coil breaks, it's all over. But essentially, episode 2 starts, and they got to try and find this X5 guy. And he's actually living a life on one of the timelines as an actor named Brad Wolfe. And I think it's a very fun time to go into a different timeline and kind of see, him kind of inserting himself into this world. I think he took over his past, like his variant self's life, essentially. But essentially, they used him to track down where, what's her face? Miss Minutes and Renslayer are, because or Sylvie. All 3 of them are kind of the main focal point. So Renslayer is from the first season. Miss Minutes is like the AI who controls the TVA, and then Sylvie, of course, is the variant Loki. So X5, he somehow gets to this timeline, and he, becomes an actor, and they need to track where or how he got there, right? So they kind of torture him a little bit. They put him inside of like a tiny box. It's a pretty fun scene where, Loki and Mobius are going to interrogate him, and Mobius is like, Loki, don't, stay chill, good cop, bad cop, I guess. And, he's talking about how Loki is going to mess it up if he gets angry or whatever, because X5 likes to push buttons. And Loki's the one who's like, fine, and Mobius is the one who like breaks and punches X5 in the face. So it's kind of a funny thing. But essentially at this point, Dox is trying to destroy the branching timelines to save the TVA. She's just kind of going all-out warfare. And what everyone at the TVA who is on Loki and Mobius' side is like, hey, these are people, these are lives, we're destroying these lives, we don't want to do that anymore. So they track down where General Dox is, they destroy the base, they capture everyone they can, and the timeline keeps growing out of control. So now they need to track down a variant of He Who Remains, and to get there, they track Renslayer's little device to 1893, where she goes there to give the variant of the He Who Remains, the TVA handbook in Chicago, in 1893 Chicago. And this is where the show really goes off the rails, but in a good way, essentially, where they really did a great job of like putting Loki, Mobius, Renslayer, Miss Minutes into 1893. I thought it was like a perfect time period because technology back then was just like starting to get going. Electricity was just starting to get harnessed by like Thomas Edison and stuff like that. And it was a very interesting time period for them to jump back to. And essentially Victor Timely, grows up and he reads the book by Ouroboros, and he essentially makes like a miniature version of the thing that helps with the sacred timeline. And Loki and Mobius are like chasing him down. There's also like a group of people he conned that are chasing him down, and then there's also Renslayer and Miss Minutes chasing him down. And it's just a very fun sequence of events. It's a very fun episode. I love the vibes. Eventually, at the end of it all, Timely, Miss Minutes, Renslayer, Loki, Mobius, they all end up in like this like building or house or whatever, Timely's little house, and they get cornered by Sylvie, who is trying to kill He Who Remains because she hates He Who Remains, if you don't know. But essentially, this version of He Who Remains, called Victor Timely, is just such a little bitch. And she's like, I couldn't kill him because he actually was afraid. Like he was not the same person. So essentially, Sylvie lets Timely go and lets him go with Loki and Mobius at that point. And then Renslayer gets and Miss Minutes gets transported to the place that He Who Remains originally died. I don't know why Sylvie transports them there. It seems like it's a pretty easy place to get out of, seeing as they show up in the TVA in the next episode. I did forget to mention that Victor Timely dupes Renslayer, and then Miss Minutes also like almost sexually assaults him. It doesn't sound funny, but it's a little bit funny. Like Miss Minutes just kind of like goes crazy AI mode, and she's like, "Love me," and she's talking about like building her a body so that she could be fucked by Victor Timely. It's very strange, but also pretty funny at the end. Anyway, episode 4 comes around. Miss Minutes. It's revealed that Miss Minutes actually erased everyone's mind at the TVA, which is a huge thing because no one at the TVA no one remembers who they are in their past lives, and they're all variants essentially. I think we learned that in the first season, but it's reinforced. Like they're variants. They're working for He Who Remains, and actually, it's also revealed that Renslayer herself was the like head general of the TVA next to He Who Remains, but He Who Remains didn't want to rule with two people, so there you go. Miss Minutes and Renslayer infiltrate the TVA, and they try to win over the hearts of the General Dox and the people who who were trying to kill the branches of the timeline. And actually, in one of the more brutal scenes in any Marvel episode, they use the tiny box machine that Loki used on X5, and they use it on like the group of people who are with General Dox. General Dox and the group of people don't want to help Miss Minutes and Renslayer because, they're bad. X5 joins Renslayer, but everyone else gets put into that little box, and it squishes them all. And it's a very horrific scene. They don't show anything, but the sound effects enough are good enough to make you a little bit squeamish. So essentially, throughout this episode, Victor Timely, Ouroboros, Loki, Mobius, and Casey are all, and B-15, I apologize, B-15's also there. They're all working pretty hard to try and get this invention working that Timely came up with to fix the thing that powers the TVA. And everything's going great. The music is playing. The triumphant music is playing. And what do you know? As soon as Victor Timely steps into the radiation zone, he's immediately spaghettified. Which means that the threads of his timeline just evaporate into spaghetti. And essentially, with that failing, the device that powers the TVA explodes, everyone dies, the end. But wait. Episode 5 pops up, and Loki is time slipping again. Essentially, the blast from the TVA power source puts him into a tailspin. He's a god, so he wouldn't have died from the blast anyway. But essentially, he starts time slipping again. And at first, it seems like a curse, but it's actually not that at all. It's actually something that helps him, essentially. But at this point, the sacred timeline, the single timeline, is the machine that's intertwining all the branches and stuff. It's gone, right? The branches are all kind of there, but there's nothing holding them together. So those timelines are going to start dying as they essentially get broken off from that sacred timeline. So he ends up finding the people in his group. Mobius is now a jet ski salesman with kids. Casey is a prisoner in Alcatraz. B-15 is a doctor. OB is like a writer / teacher, and essentially what happens is Loki brings all of them together to try and fix this. But essentially, Sylvie doesn't want to help. She's like, I'm fine on my timeline. Fuck it all. But what eventually happens is her timeline breaks apart, and then all their timelines break apart, and then Loki's kind of left alone again. But in this moment of anguish, in this moment of horror, while he watches all of his friends die, essentially, again, he learns to control the time slipping, which is where episode 6 picks up. And essentially, Loki goes back and forth in the timeline, learning all the ins and outs of the TVA and learning all the different components that make up the TVA. And essentially, it takes centuries for him to learn everything that Ouroboros knows and more. And he does all of that. He perfects the implication of this device that's supposed to save the TVA that didn't work before. And essentially, after all that effort, it still fails in the end. And he doesn't understand what's wrong. Do they not have enough time? They don't have a whatever. Well, essentially, what OB finds out in the last attempt that actually worked but didn't work is that the timelines are infinite. So they would have to grow the device that powers the TVA infinitely, which wouldn't work. There would be no way to do that. So he starts going back in time even more to like multiple different points throughout when he was at the TVA, and it's just nothing is working. He meets up with Mobius back when he first meets him in season 1 and gets some advice from him. And he ends up deciding, well, I guess I need to kill Sylvie because her killing He Who Remains is kind of what kickstarted this whole thing, right? And in the end, he talks to, like, he's struggling with, like, should I kill Sylvie? Shouldn't I kill Sylvie, right? In the end, he learns how to, like, stop time, which allows him to talk to He Who Remains, and they kind of have a discussion back and forth. And then Loki, like, talks to Sylvie, and Sylvie's like, I'm not going to give you my blessing to kill me. Like, what are you talking about? So, all in all, at the end of the day, he realizes what he's supposed to do in the end, right? He realizes what he's supposed to do, and he goes back to the point in time where Victor Timely is going to go out there and he's going to save the day with his wondrous machine. He's all suited up, well, he's not suited up yet, but Loki takes the reins and he goes, "I'm going in, folks." And what he does is because he's a god, he doesn't get affected by the time radiation as hardcore as everyone else. He doesn't like turn into spaghetti or whatever, or die essentially when he goes out there. So what he does is he grabs all the timelines, every single branching timeline that he can. He grabs them and imbues them with his power, and he wraps it into this tree essentially, which I'm pretty sure is like the it's almost like the tree in like God of War, Ragnarok, right? Or maybe even not the Earth tree, but you know what I mean. But essentially, because he's a god, he just grows older from the radiation, and he sits down in the throne that once was inhabited by He Who Remains, and he's essentially not controlling, but he's essentially keeping the timelines in check by himself. He sits down in the chair, he wraps himself in this tree-like structure, and boom, bada bing, he saves the day. Essentially, he saves the day. So there's a little bit of an epilogue after that just shows some people going about their business after what happened. We can only believe that Loki is now in that position. That version of Loki is now in there forever. I forgot to mention this at the beginning. I should have done that at the beginning. A season, in Avengers Endgame, there's a Loki gets the Tesseract, right, in that one scene where they mess up the little heist that they're doing to get the Tesseract, which has the Infinity Stone inside of it. And this is that version of Loki. He gets sent to the he gets trapped by the TVA because now he's a variant because he did something he wasn't supposed to do. Blah 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 blah. So now that version of Loki, who seemed irredeemable after the events of Avengers and whatever, he learns that his glorious purpose is to watch the sacred timeline, keep the timelines in check, and save all these lives at the cost of essentially his own. He's not dead, but essentially he can't really do anything anymore. But yeah, so essentially everything kind of goes back to normal. The TVA gets back up and working. OB writes a new book, and it says at the end of at the end they kind of zoom in on it a little bit, and it says that it was written by Ouroboros and Victor Timely, which is a pretty nice nod to Victor Timely, who is now just a regular boy in the Chicago era who never got the book to become He Who Remains. So that's the thing. It's a pretty nice ending, all things considered. And also, like, Mobius, who has been all about the job for his entire life, I guess, decides to take a break and check out what his variant self is doing and dream about that sort of thing. It's a very nice ending, and I feel like they don't need a season 3. If they're working on season 3, I don't think they need it. I think that the end of season 2 is perfect, and they really shouldn't. They shouldn't go any further with it. I feel like they did a great job. They should end it right there with the Loki, TV show. I know it's very popular and it's very good, but I think that it's a perfect ending right there. We don't really need any more. Will Loki show up in a future Marvel property? Maybe, probably. Honestly, I mean, everyone loves Loki. It might not be the same Loki, I don't think. But I feel like they will do something with a TVA eventually down the road. Maybe they will be a big part of whatever the next Endgame type movie will be. I don't know. But as it stands right now, I'm very satisfied with the ending of season 2, and I think that if they do go further with it, it'll be unneeded. Kind of like The Mandalorian, how that really started to go downhill after season 2. It's like, I guess we don't really need to push it, right? We don't need to push the this whole thing of like, oh, we need like 5 seasons, blah 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 blah. We need to go so far with these things, right? I always bring up like Lost, that went for too long. How I Met Your Mother, that went for way too long. There's so many TV shows that are like, we could have just stopped at like season 3 and everyone would have been happy, and no one would have been sad. There's rare exceptions, of course, like Breaking Bad or something, but in general, I feel like when you start to push things past like when you have a solid ending to a season, there's no reason to pick it back up again, in my opinion. Mandalorian season 2 had that. It was a solid ending. Didn't really need anything more there, but they kept going. How I Met Your Mother should have ended like season 5. Like Lost should have ended like season 4. Like there's so many shows that I could bring up that are like, we could have ended this way earlier. We really could have, and it would have been saved. I guess there's another show that I would say deserves all its season. That's Futurama. Can't say the same thing for Simpsons or Family Guy. Those two shows should have ended a long time ago. South Park is kind of getting to this. It's the same way with South Park, really. I really haven't enjoyed anything from South Park since like season 12. So it's like, what are we doing here? I mean, it still makes money. That's why they're doing it, but still. And then a show like Futurama that consistently has solid season after solid season with hardly any stinkers in there gets canceled like 3 or 4 times. And they always end it like, they always have like the best ending ever to, to the show. And they're like, oh, we gotta write some more, I guess. But yeah, that's Loki season 2. It's really good. It's exceptional. It's only 6 episodes, about an hour each, so it's not too big of a commitment, honestly. So if you're interested, I would definitely watch the first season and the second season back to back at this point, because they're both really good. Season 1's like a 4 out of 5. Season 2 though is like a 5 out of 5. It's as close to a 5 out of 5 you can get. So I definitely would recommend checking out both the seasons back to back, because they do link together very nicely. And there are things that they go back to in season 2 that are in season 1 that I kind of had to rack my brain remembering. But yeah, it was a great show, and I feel like it should end right here, because there's nothing more that I could think of. They shouldn't do anything more. If they're gonna do anything else, they should do a separate show for the TVA and call it like Mobius or Ouroboros or just TVA or whatever. All right, they should just do that. They don't need to have the Loki thing attached to it anymore. They can just do it's a separate thing, right? They can just do a separate thing if that's what they're doing. So yeah. All right, so that's that. I think that they certainly did a great job with it, and then, like I said before, they certainly should not continue it. I'm sure that there's some executive at Marvel or Disney who's like, this is making we're getting tons of views on this. We should do another season or 2. I'll greenlight 5 more seasons. And I think hopefully the writers, if they're smart, or the people behind the show will be like, no, we don't need to do anything else. This is fine. So we'll see. It's funny too. A lot of people are like, "Oh, but Tom Hiddleston, he's under contract for 6 more years." And the same thing happened after like Doctor Strange, the Doctor Strange movie where Scarlet Witch dies or whatever, and all these people are like, "Oh, but they're under contract for 6-7 more years." Captain America's under. He's under. They're gonna be back. The funny thing is that they didn't really come back. They just voiced the characters for the What If series. So there's a lot of egg on those people's faces right now, because even though, Black Widow, Scarlett Johansson and stuff were all under contract for extended amounts of time, they've re-signed contracts. It was for What If, so they could voice the characters in the shows. And it's just kind of silly to me that everyone's expecting, like, oh, she's not actually, they're not actually dead, they're coming back. Like, yeah. I'm waiting for the big apology, because I kind of predicted it. I'm waiting for, no, okay. So, that's that. That's all I gotta say about that. Okay, Hell's Kitchen, season 22. Let me take a drink of water here. Water. All right. So, Hell's Kitchen season 22. I know there's at least one person in the audience who has watched this show. If you don't know, I am a very big fan of Hell's Kitchen. I've been watching it since like, I feel like I've been watching it since like season 3 or 4, because my parents put it on once, and it was just a lot of fun. It was a great show, and I've watched every single season from like I said, like season 3 or 4 all the way to season 22, and they've been a bit rocky here or there. I think the last like couple seasons have kind of been decent, I guess. But like they haven't been like the peak as they've been in the past. I feel like deservedly Gordon Ramsay has kind of softened a lot in terms of like his outbursts. Just I feel like they're a little bit more forced than usual. Exclamation point boo is a part of Touch Portal, so that's not going to work for the podcast because I don't have Touch Portal running, because Patrick comes up and does the thing, so that's why that's not working. So yeah, I think, but like I said, it's not like a bad thing that Gordon Ramsay's getting a bit more like mellow, right? I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I mean, he still has his outbursts, but it seems a bit more forced nowadays, or like he's a bit more understanding, I guess. And if you look back at those older seasons, like he obviously was like maybe going overboard in those seasons as well, like borderline abuse, you know. So I think one, he's trying to represent, you know, chefs in a different light, obviously. Head chefs in a different light. Like he doesn't want to be like the mean, grouchy, you know, whatever kind of chef anymore, but you know he still has an outburst, so it's still a fun show to watch. Not only just for the outburst, but also for the personalities of the chefs and the different like the different like things that they do, like the different challenges they do, the different punishments that happen, the different things that happen. And season 22 was dubbed the American Dream, and a bunch of chefs from all over kind of competed in this one. There was only one chef who was actually living the American dream, which was an Irish immigrant to America. He's only been here for like 6 years, and his name was Ryan. And essentially by the notes, in my notes, I have Ryan, Irish. That's my only note for him. It was very pronounced that he was Irish. But there was a whole bunch of other people in this who, you know, when you think about the American dream, right, you think about immigrants coming over from foreign lands. You ride the boat by the Statue of Liberty, right? And like the American dream is like coming to America and starting a business or making your money, right? In the free world or whatever they call it. There was only one person who was like actually living the American dream. Like everyone else on here has reasons to be there, obviously. Some of them have kids. Some of them are, you know, aspiring chefs. Some of them are, you know, determined to get the money. Some of them are great leaders or come from low-income households and stuff like that. You know, there's a lot of people who are deserving to be on the show, who deserve to get a chance at winning the, you know, however, you know, the job at Las Vegas, Hell's Kitchen Las Vegas. But the funny thing is, there's only one person on this list who was essentially a foreigner, and that was Ryan, the Irish guy. Remember that as we go forward. So there's a couple of people who stand out in the competition. Damir is a big one. He's this guy who is always present in the kitchen, has a voice, is pretty much a leader in the kitchen. He seems to, I mean, he was a great chef. He was getting like 5 out of 5s and everything like that. There's another person named Sammy who was she was really good at challenges. She was really good in the kitchen. Jonathan, this guy named Jonathan, he was like one of the main characters on the show because he like talked about his daughter every chance he got. So like I honestly believe that's the reason why he got so far. There's another person named Jason, not the guy who helps out the blue team. But Jason was like this asshole the entire time who was he was just an asshole. He really was. And he really should have been gone very early on, but he caused drama, which essentially was what kept him around, in my opinion. There's a bunch of other people as well. The only one that I put any notes next to after that was Brad, who left after hurting his back or something like that. And this happens every single season at this point, where someone just randomly gets a medical emergency. It happened to this guy in the return season. There was like a season where like a bunch of chefs came back, and he was like in position to go far, and something happened with his back. Like, so he aggravated something in his back, and he had to leave. Like, he was like top 3 material, and he had to go early, which was crazy. And then this Brad guy, who also was like, yeah, maybe he was a bit scatterbrained or whatever you want to call it, ADHD. But he was pretty good. I mean, he was crushing it in every single way, especially when it comes to his back, because during the like activity for the reward that they got, he aggravated a surgery that he had a couple months ago on his back. And it's like, at that point, it's like, what are you doing this vigorous physical activity inside of like this bouncy ball thing, playing soccer, getting hit by people in balls, right? Why are you doing this? Like, you pretty recently had a back surgery. But no, he's got to go. This guy, he was starting to shine, and he had to leave because of medical emergency. And then there was one other person, probably the only person in this season to have been an obvious plant, who shouldn't have been there from the get-go. This guy named Tad. Not Ted, Tad. He lasted for 2 episodes because they didn't eliminate anyone in the first episode, right? And he was this guy that they made fun of how he played Quidditch. He played like a physical version of Quidditch. He was a big Harry Potter guy. And the only reason that he was on the show was for Chef Ramsay to kick him out and let him go as the first contestant, right? That's the only reason he was there, in my opinion. But he was kind of like a funny character, I guess. But he definitely wasn't a chef. Like, everything he did was like not chef. This is definitely not a chef. Like, he is a plant. He is here to just get some clicks. He's here to be weird and awkward and then leave after an episode or 2. That was the entire reason for Tad being there. And it proved it was right. He left, and the show did not change at all because he was not a good chef, and I don't think he was a chef at all. And maybe it'll come out that that's true or not. I don't know. Let's get to the nitty-gritty, though. Who cares about that shit? The season was going pretty good. I thought that the right people were getting eliminated, and the teams are kind of duking it out left and right in terms of eliminations and challenges, right? And Jason was causing just enough to be like an interesting thing to watch him like stir shit up every single episode. But then it started to get kind of weird because Jason, essentially during a dinner service, or it was either a dinner service or a challenge or something like that, claimed that the Chef Ramsay's left hand, Red Kitchen leader Christina, taught him how to do the dessert wrong. He claims that. He was like, and that was a big thing. Like, the Chef Ramsay came over and he's like, what the fuck, why would you teach him this? And she's like, that's not how I taught him. And then Jason came over, the blue team leader, and I was like, no, she definitely didn't teach him to do it that way. And Jason had egg on his face. He essentially lied to Chef Ramsay's face, threw Christina under the bus, and nothing happened. Chef Ramsay didn't cuss him out, didn't tell him to leave, didn't kick him out right there and then there, he didn't even get eliminated at the end of the day. He was up for elimination almost every single episode, and he never got eliminated. I thought for sure he would be eliminated during this episode, but no, he wasn't eliminated. He was there the entire time. Any other season, anyone else lying to Christina's face, lying to Chef Ramsay, lying to Jason, would have been immediately kicked out and reprimanded, and he would have turned in his jacket during dinner service. But no, not this time around. Okay, let's fast forward to a little bit later in the season when Jason was essentially like being a dick to like everyone on the team in front of Gordon Ramsay. Didn't say anything. Didn't get eliminated. Jason finally gets eliminated during the black jacket event, where 5 chefs get the black jackets. There's 7 of them. There only 5 can make it through. The funny thing is that Jason didn't deserve to be eliminated during the black jacket event. He made 3 dishes that Gordon Ramsay complimented the entire night. He said, that's good. That's fucking good food. So the one time that Jason shouldn't have been eliminated, he was eliminated. It's just so fucking stupid. It's almost like Gordon Ramsay was like, look, I understand he's gotten through a lot of shit, so now's the time to eliminate him. The other stupid thing that happened right after this is that for the first time in Hell's Kitchen history, 6 people got black jackets, right? And it didn't make sense. I'm like, why? One of these, why are we doing this? So I leaned over to my partner and I said, he's going to eliminate 2 people next time. You watch. What do you know? The next episode happens. The chefs in the top 6 fail miserably at dinner service. And what does Gordon Ramsay do? He lets go of one chef. A chef that kind of deserved it, I guess. She messed up the Wellingtons. Whatever. And then, in a stunning event, he also eliminated Demir at the same time. He said, I'm not done yet. And you were expecting him to eliminate someone else because Jonathan was drunk the entire episode. He was literally hungover the entire episode. He had drank too much. He was hungover for the entire episode. He cooked like shit. His attitude was shit. He was literally talking to Gordon Ramsay in like an asshole way, like not saying yes chef, no chef. He was like, okay, I will. Jeez. And the entire time too, he was talking about how Gordon Ramsay said he looked like shit. He looked like a sack of shit the entire episode. And what happens? Jonathan's going down. Jonathan's not doing good at the dinner service. Jonathan's fucking things up because he's hungover and drunk or whatever. And what happens? Gordon Ramsay lets go of the one person. I think it was Lee. And it's like, okay, Lee, fine. She kind of deserved it, I guess. He turns around and says, Demir, you're going home. And you know why? Because you didn't help Jonathan. It's like, what? Because Demir didn't help Jonathan? He's being eliminated. Huh? The entire season, Demir is the #1 guy who should have won the whole fucking thing. He should have won the whole fucking thing hands down. He was the best chef the entire fucking time because one dinner service where Jonathan is hungover and doesn't want to be there and he's crying about this thing that Gordon Ramsay said to him the entire fucking day. He doesn't go home, but Demir goes home. The guy who was the only strong person in dinner service, the guy who stood out the most, the guy who had the voice, the guy who was there when things were bad, when things were good. He was the guy to try and lift people back up. He was a leader. Demir was the leader that Gordon Ramsay was looking for. He gets let go because he didn't help Jonathan, who was doing appetizers that night and garnish. He was doing garnish. I apologize, not appetizer. Garnish. He's fucking up garnish. That's like the easiest station. We know it's the easiest station, okay? He fucks up garnish, and he doesn't go home. You know why? Oh, because he has a daughter. His daughter Saxton. Oh, he was just drunk. He doesn't deserve to be let go. Demir, though, fuck Demir, right?
Fucking donkey!
He goes. Yeah, Greedy Waffles makes a good point. Jonathan also said that he didn't want to be there anymore. And usually when a chef says that, Gordon Ramsay's like, you're out then. It doesn't matter what else you say, what else goes on. You want it out, you're out. But no, Demir gets put out. Because he didn't turn around and help Jonathan. Demir was on meats. Let me tell you that. Demir was on meat station, which is the hardest station next to fish. Okay? And Gordon Ramsay expects Demir to stop cooking his meat, turn around, and help Jonathan. what kind of shit is that? Like, what kind of absolute bullshit is that? It's just, it's so stupid. It's so annoying. It doesn't even, it's just so weird. So in the end, as most people predicted, Ryan and Jonathan started to become buddy-buddy. They were bros by the end of it. And so they were the two left to take home the win. And in the end, the right person got the job out of the last 4 people there. But it's still like you missed hardcore with Damir here. Like, you literally missed the person who should have won, right? So in the end, Ryan, once again, the only guy who immigrated to America in search of the American dream, okay, ended up winning. The Irish guy. That's who ends up winning. And Jonathan, you kind of expected him to win because, you know, his daughter. I think Gordon did make the right choice here at the end between these 2 chefs, between the last 4 chefs. But I think if Damir was there with Ryan, that would have been, you know, that would have been a harder choice. It definitely would have been a harder choice. And I think that Damir would have ended up winning over Ryan. But of course, you know, that's just speculation. But it's the thing. It's like, Jonathan was there because you're thinking of Sammy. Jonathan was there because he was talking about his daughter the entire time. I think people in the audience generally liked him and liked his story. Gordon Ramsay knew that in order to get views, he left Jason on for as long as he did, and he left Jonathan in there until the end. In the end, though, Ryan ended up winning because Ryan was the better chef. He made the better food. He did better challenges. I don't know if he was the better leader in the kitchen, but at this point, it's like, you know, you already lost your guy, so it's like, go with the second best, I guess. But yeah, it was a season that really started to piss me off about halfway through when Jason kept getting, you know, just kept being there, essentially just to cause drama. That's the only reason he was there. When they let Damir go, I was ready to stop watching the season entirely. And then at the end of it all, I knew that Ryan was going to win because, you know, Jonathan was not as good of a chef as Ryan or Sammy for that matter, but he got to the end. Because, you know, that's it feels kind of rigged. I'll be honest with you. It does feel rigged. Okay? Yeah, I mean, it seems to happen all the time, too, during these taste tests where they have a guest on, and they'll say nothing but praise for a dish and be like, oh, it's like an 8. It was an 8. No, it was an 8, not a 9. It was an 8. It was an 8 because that's what essentially got her the loss was the 8 on everyone else got 10s and 9s. So it seemed a bit rigged this year for sure. And I know it's kind of felt that way a little bit in the past, but this year I really felt it, like really felt it. And all I gotta say is we gotta do better. We gotta do better with this shit. It's starting to get too predictable. When someone's a troublemaker, they last longer than they should. When someone's a bad chef, why are they there in the first place? You know, just to be yelled at, just to be kicked out, cause some drama in the first 2 episodes, be a little bit of a punching bag, right? It's just, it irks me a lot, and I love the show a lot still, and I'll watch the next season. But they gotta be better with this shit. Like this season was a joke. This season was actually a joke. I'm not gonna say anything about the other past couple seasons because I don't really remember what happened in them, honestly. But I didn't mind, like, the people who won, I felt deserved the win in those seasons, right? This season was the first time that I was like, no, you missed it. You missed the guy. You eliminated him at number 5. You know. Yeah, and. Yeah, a couple years ago, they did do like a young versus old competition where they had a mixed kitchen for each side, you know, both women and men, and that was interesting for the first like couple of episodes, and then like 4 episodes in, Gordon Ramsay was like, okay, now it's girls versus guys again, and that tanked the season essentially for until the Black Jackets thing happened. And they gotta do better. They gotta either think of something, think of something to really spice things up again, or they just gotta retire it. I mean, how many chefs can win Hell's Kitchen and be head chefs for Gordon Ramsay at this point? How many? I mean, I know he has a lot of restaurants. I think he has like 6 or 7 in Las Vegas alone. But that's the thing. Like, do we really need more Hell's Kitchen seasons at this point? I enjoy the show, don't get me wrong, but it's like, if the quality is going to be like this going forward, I don't know if I want that. And Gordon has so many other shows that he's doing. He brought back Kitchen Nightmares. That's been good. That's actually been really good. Next Level Chef has also been pretty good too. The first season was pretty good. The second season was good. This season's starting off a little bit rocky, but I think it's going to right itself after we get past the first 3 episodes here, where they're kind of choosing who gets to be in the, in the draft, they're calling it. That's been good. And I think that Hell's Kitchen is a show that I don't know if it needs to be around anymore. I know it gets numbers, and I love the show, don't get me wrong, but like I said, each year has kind of been a decreasing in like standards and in like watchability essentially. And this last season 22, was just it just fell apart after like that 5th or so episode, where it's like, why aren't these people being eliminated when they're doing these things? Like, why are we keeping these people around? Why isn't Ramsay doing what he normally does and kicking people out mid episode? It doesn't make any sense. And then when he does do something nice, like, oh, I'm not going to eliminate anyone. Oh, 6 people get Black Jackets. He'll eliminate 2 people next time. And it's like, can this be any more scripted? Like, can this really be any more scripted at this point? I don't know. The amount of times that Gordon had to stop dinner service for both teams was a lot this season. It really was. And 2 of those times happened during the Black Jackets. So it's like, what the fuck are we doing here? Like, are we just not getting good enough talent? Are we trying to rely on like who will make the most drama, who will be the best story? All right? I don't know. But what I do know is that if season 23 is as bad as season 22, it might be time to pull the plug. I think it is already time to pull the plug, honestly. Gordon Ramsay's getting up there in age. He doesn't have to do this shit. He can do the stuff that he really enjoys. You can tell that he doesn't really enjoy doing Hell's Kitchen. When you see him doing Next Level Chef or Kitchen Nightmares or whatever, he's happy. He's there. He's being himself. He's, he gets a little bit pissed off here and there, yells, kicks people out because their refrigerator smells like rotten cheese, okay? In Next Level Chef, he wants to see these people rise up. He wants to coach them. He wants to make them better chefs or make them into chefs. You can tell he has passion behind it. Hell's Kitchen, I don't see the passion anymore. I don't see Gordon Ramsay as Gordon Ramsay. I don't know why he's still doing it if he doesn't seem like he wants to do it. It seems like an afterthought. Everything from the season was recycled, from the challenges to the drama. It's practically copy paste from the last couple years. So that's that. Hell's Kitchen season 22 flop. Not the worst season, I don't think, but definitely a flop. Maybe it was the worst season, honestly. I don't know. Maybe it was. In recent memory, it's the worst. I'll say that. I guess. Yeah. All right. That's that. Okay. Let me take another sip of water. Thank you for sticking around today, people. I do appreciate that. I hope you're all having a good night. This next episode of Ferret 64 is going to be a pretty long one, by the way. I will be talking in depth about foam stars, which I finally beat today, and I'm thinking of going back and finishing up some stuff for the 100% just because it just requires a little bit of grinding to get to level 25 and whatever. I have some big criticisms for it, but I'll probably be playing a little bit more before I uninstall it myself. And then also Helldivers 2 came out. I gotta play more than I didn't really get to play it all today. Just had a lot to do. Busy stuff, working, shopping, etc. So it is, yeah. First, I'm expecting it to be a pretty an actually pretty long episode. I think it's gonna be a pretty long episode. So if you're excited for that, though, hey, more me. All right, that's enough plugging. Let's get into the final topic here. I might end it a bit short today. I gotta still upload. I did edit the Film Freaks episode for tomorrow. I still need to upload it though. So I might end a little bit early just to make sure I get all that stuff done before my bedtime. But let's talk about Super Bowl predictions. The Super Bowl is coming up, folks, and woo boy, was it quite the season. Oh boy, was it the season? We already I guess I already talked about the season per se, but let's talk about the build up to the playoffs. I think that this year's playoffs were not exactly predictable, but it did sort of end in the way that I thought it was going to end in some regards. But not exactly. My predictions were off. Let's just start off by saying my predictions were off from that episode. But I will also say that my reasoning for being so off was sound, right? Everything that I said in that episode made sense. I said the Browns were going to win. They were on a hot streak. We ended up getting crushed. I said the Dolphins were going to lose. What do you know? The Dolphins lost. They fell apart in the snow. I said that the Packers were going to lose. They ended up winning. I don't mind being wrong about that kind of thing. I said the Lions were going to lose. It was a close game. They almost did, but they did pull ahead of the Rams at the last second. And I'm not mad about that. I like the Lions.
Bang bang Niner gang.
The Eagles. I said the Eagles were going to win. They ended up losing to the Buccaneers, deservedly. I don't mind being wrong about that because they lost. Fair and square. They did not play well. And, of course, I said the Steelers were going to lose to the Bills. That did happen. The Steelers should never have been there in the first place. Should have been the Colts or something instead. But, here we are. So the first round of the playoffs was a bit heartbreaking for me because the Browns got put out of their misery, essentially. But I kind of expected it in the back of my mind because it's like, okay, we got Joe Flacco. Our team is banged up. Hopefully next year we can get back to this spot and be in the playoffs again. We'll see, though. I don't have a lot of faith. I don't think I have any faith at all in Deshaun Watson. So, that's just great. Our $100, $200 million quarterback. I have no faith in him. Isn't that just great? And the Rams got knocked out. It was a great game, and I think the Rams sneaked themselves into the playoffs. They had a hot stretch at the end of the year, and I liked seeing them play against the Lions. I wanted the Lions to win personally, but I thought the Rams were going to win because, it was a very Lions thing to do to lose against their former quarterback. I'm happy that the Packers won against the Cowboys. Most of the Cowboys' points were in garbage time, so don't worry about that final score. But in the end, the Packers had a great win. They showed that they were ready to take the next step next year and possibly go farther. The Buccaneers winning was a good story for Baker Mayfield. Say what you want about Baker Mayfield. I obviously have my criticisms of him. But he played a great game, and he got his team to victory in the toilet bowls of the toilet bowls. And what essentially happened was people started to say, like, oh, were the Browns too hard on Baker Mayfield? Did the Panthers let go of this rising talent, this big talent? No. When he played for the Browns, it was a mixed bag. He had one really good season, and he had three mediocre to bad seasons. And one season the last season he was there, he's playing with an injury, which he shouldn't have been playing at all. Then, I don't think it was the wrong decision to let go of Baker Mayfield. I mean, hindsight 2020, obviously, but don't forget that when he joined the Panthers, he also played pretty poorly down the stretch, and he got benched for Sam Darnold of all people. He had a good run with the Rams, like a couple good games with the Rams, or maybe like a good game with the Rams, and then he eventually got picked up by the Buccaneers for this season, and he's played decent, I guess, but I don't know. I don't know if he'll win Comeback Player of the Year, but yeah, we'll see. So then we move on to the divisional round. The Texans got their asses handed to them by the Ravens, as expected. The 49ers ended up upsetting the Packers, crazy enough. The Packers were winning, I think, for most of that game, and then the 49ers got ahead. The Lions beat the Buccaneers, as predicted. Let me say what Greedy Waffles wrote here. Baker Mayfield won't be anything next year, losing that QB coach, which seems to be really good. Coaching goes a long way. Take the Panthers, for example. Didn't do shit and goes to Tampa with that coach, and all of a sudden he's good. There you go. There's your prediction right there, folks. I'm guessing the Buccaneers will pick up a rookie quarterback this offseason, if they haven't already. So anyway, the divisional round, Packers lose in heartbreaking fashion to the 49ers. It didn't seem like the 49ers had it in them to actually win that game, but they ended up doing it. The Lions win over the Buccaneers, as predicted. It was not really a close game, but it was close enough to be entertaining. And then in the upset of the year, the Chiefs beat the Bills at the Bills Stadium in bad weather conditions, and the Chiefs won. And at that point, I'm like, oh, God, they're going to the Super Bowl, aren't they? But my joke didn't really come into fruition until the conference championships. The Chiefs ended up beating the Ravens in a rousing game of 17-10. I have a lot of critiques here for this game. One, why the fuck didn't the Ravens run the ball? They only did like 5 or 6 designed runs. Lamar barely used his legs. There was at one point, it was like a 3rd and 1, and Lamar decided to try and force the ball, and of course it was incomplete, but he could have totally ran for like 20 yards there. The Ravens changed their plan, and I don't know why, because the running game was working. When it worked, it was like they got like 15 yards, 20 yards. I don't know why they did not run the ball. It doesn't make any sense. And then by the time that they were in crazy mode, we have to get a score here mode. At that point, they're doing Hail Marys down the field, and of course, the Chiefs defense was playing pretty good this whole year, or a whole last year, 2023-2024 season, that they were able to stop all that. And there were, I will say, there was a missed call on a pass interference late in the game. Lamar threw the triple coverage, which was a dumb idea to begin with, but there was pass interference there. Wasn't called. What are you gonna do? It was just one of those games that I really felt like, yeah, this is like, what are the Ravens doing? They're not using their weapons. They're not running the ball. Like, they were good with running the ball the entire year. Their defense was good all year. They definitely held up here. They held the Chiefs to only 17 points, with which any other game where the Ravens are playing, the Ravens would have won, because the Ravens constantly put up like 20+ point games. But right here, they were like, oh, no, we're not going to run the ball. We're not going to, we're just going to do, Lamar's just going to pass the ball. He's going to show why he's MVP and pass the ball. And, there were so many drives in a row where it's like, okay, the Ravens have to score here. The Ravens have to do something here. And they would go 3 and out. Or they would have a promising drive that ended, on 4th down or something like that. Or whatever. And it just didn't make any sense. The whole game plan was off. And the team looked off. And yeah, it's just so crazy. Yeah, there was a pretty crazy play where Lamar, his ball got batted down or something, or tipped, and he ended up catching it himself and running for 20 yards. That was a big play there. Yeah, it's just one of those things that it really made no sense. The Chiefs were on the road this entire playoff run. The first time ever that they've been on the road for most of the games. I believe they were at home with the Dolphins game. So it's of course they're going to win that. But they were on the road for the Bills game and the Ravens game, and a lot of times that can affect things. That can affect things hardcore. The home crowd messing up the play calls because they can't, the team can't hear anything. Throwing snowballs on the field, doing all this crazy stuff. And the Chiefs somehow, some way, with some sort of voodoo, ended up fucking getting past these two teams that have great home crowds. Have you ever been to have you ever seen the Bills crowd? Like, that is one of the most chaotic crowds in football. And the Ravens, they showed up. Their fans showed up to that game. They did everything that they could possibly do to help the Ravens. And yeah, it didn't fucking matter for either of these games. These games that were favored in the home team, the Chiefs ended up beating both of these teams. It's more heartbreaking for the Bills because the Bills have been consistently beaten by the Chiefs every single playoff. But it's also even more so devastating for the Ravens, who finally had a good, an all-around good team. Defense, running, O-line, defensive line, Lamar, everyone in there doing the best that they can. Kicker, Justin Tucker. And still, they as I said in that episode I was talking about playoff predictions, I said the Ravens are known for laying an egg in the playoffs, and what do you know? They fucking laid a big, fat egg. On the other side of that, the NFC championship game, the Lions were thrashing the 49ers for about 2.5 quarters of football. And any other team going against the Lions here would have crumbled, would have been trying to play hero ball. But the 49ers got damn lucky, okay? Let me just say that first and right off the bat. The 49ers got lucky. They got the momentum to change after a crazy face mask. Like the ball hit the Lions defender's face mask and then went into the arms of Brandon Ayuk, who was already on the ground. So it was like all these like random factors coming into play. And that was exactly what kick-started the 49ers' renewed momentum. The 49ers didn't start off bad. I mean, they had 2 scores, 14 points at the start. But then they kind of went limp, and the Lions were just doing anything they wanted. And Dan Campbell, say what you will, he's a guy who's going to be aggressive throughout the entire game with his play calling. And in this case, it hurt the team. He left 6 points on the board. 2 field goals he could have done on 4th down, but he wanted to be aggressive. He wanted to put the dagger in, essentially. But both times it failed. The second time was more egregious, I guess you could say, because it wasn't even close at the end of the day when he went for the 4th down. Like, the Jared Goff just didn't throw a good ball, and it couldn't get to the hands of the receiver. What are you going to do? The other time, though, was like, we threw the ball to Josh Reynolds and he dropped the ball like 3 times this game. Let's throw the Josh Reynolds again because he's been so consistent with catching balls, right? Nah. Nope. So at the end of the day, even though the score was close at the, by the time the game was over, the Lions really they left 6 points on the board that could have been the win for them right there. And I know that everyone on that team is going to be beating themselves up because they were right there. They were literally right there. They had to get like 1 defensive stop. They had to do something. They had to get some points. But in the end, it just wasn't enough. The onside kick failed, and the rest is history. I think Dan Campbell is a great coach, but he's very one-track minded. He will not get off of his game plan, even if it hurts him. And we knew that from the regular season when he was taking all these risks. And there was that one famous clip where he's like, "Oh, I told the guys we were gonna go down the field and go for 2, and that's what we did." And it's like, yeah, it worked in that situation, but if it failed, well, now we know what happens if it fails. People get angry. I don't think Dan Campbell should be fired. I think he's a good coach, honestly. And I think that the Lions are a team that are right there on the precipice of getting into the playoff, into the Super Bowl And I think that if they keep this trajectory and they build the team up with some new players, maybe make some trades in the offseason, maybe get some good drafts, picks in here, I think that they will in the next year get to the Super Bowl. But it's hard to predict these things because anything can happen. The Chiefs were limp throughout this entire year. This entire year, the Chiefs were bad. Like, they were actually bad. It got to the point where Patrick Mahomes was crying and whining on the sidelines to referees who were just doing their fucking job that day. And what happens? All of a sudden, they get reinvigorated, and they go on this tear in the playoffs, and now here we are with a 49ers-Chiefs Super Bowl, which is not exciting in the slightest. Let me be clear that this is not exciting, okay? This was the worst case scenario for a Super Bowl this year because the Chiefs are not enjoyable to watch. The Chiefs are on everyone's hate list right now. The Chiefs have been so annoying this year with Kelsey and Taylor Swift and Mahomes and his family, essentially. His brother was he literally forced himself on a woman. He got let off on that one. And his father recently, 3rd DUI, goes to jail. Wow, great stuff there, right? Yes, I would like to go to B-dubs. I would. So yeah, the Chiefs are everyone's least liked team this year. They literally have made themselves into an unlikable team. Say what you will about the Patriots, but at least they backed their shit up. They had consistently winning seasons, and people didn't like them because they were so winning. The Chiefs, on the other hand, this whole fucking season were bad. They limped into the playoffs. They got lucky in the first game by having the Dolphins, and then they somehow miraculously beat the next 2 teams on their list. And now, here they are in the Super Bowl, and boom bada bing, no one wants them to win, but it seems like they are going to win. I know I picked the 49ers in the Discord, but I truly think that the Chiefs are going to pull out another fucking victory here. Patrick Mahomes is going to get another MVP that he probably doesn't deserve, and the world will spin on. Patrick Mahomes didn't deserve the MVP the first time he won the Super Bowl. They gave it to him so that he could make history, right? We all know that it should have been Clyde Edwards-Helaire. He did the most in that game. Whatever. He did deserve the MVP in the next Super Bowl that he won. Let's be honest. He was a very good player there. This Super Bowl, if Patrick Mahomes wins the MVP for this Super Bowl, and he does worse than his the original game versus the 49ers or whatever, I don't know, man. I don't know. Will it be Kelsey? Maybe, because Taylor Swift's probably going to be there. And if he gets 1 touchdown and 50 yards receiving, they'll give him the MVP at that point. Because if there's one thing that we've learned, it's that power couples in the NFL have the power. That's right. Why do you think the Chiefs got so far? They started winning pretty consistently after Kelsey and Taylor Swift became a thing. And the NFL really jumped on it, partially in a creepy way. So, that's just a theory. The 49ers is a team that, look, they had a rough patch during the year. They lost 3 games in a row. Then they righted the ship. I don't hate the 49ers. I just didn't want them to be here at this point because I thought the Lions were the better story. They were playing better football in the playoffs, especially. I think everyone in America wanted the Lions to win except for people in California. And it's unfortunate that the Lions lost that game. And people are saying oh, well, if the Chiefs and the Lions went up into the Super Bowl, it would be a 50-0 blowout, right? I don't think so. It probably would be a pretty entertaining game. I don't think that the Super Bowl is going to be a dud of a game. I think that both these teams have a lot of weapons, like Christian McCaffrey for the 49ers, Kelsey, Mahomes for the Chiefs, Pacheco for the Chiefs, Joey Bosa for the 49ers. They got Chase Young on there as well. They got Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk. I think that the 49ers have a lot of good players. I think the Chiefs have a lot of star players as well. I think these are 2 good teams for a Super Bowl in general. I just don't like that both of them made it here. On paper, this is probably going to be a good Super Bowl. But in terms of me personally, I don't like the Chiefs. I really have never liked the Chiefs. Even when in their first Super Bowl appearance, I wanted the 49ers to win because Jimmy G is so beautiful. But I've never really liked the Chiefs, and now they've gone on this tear. People are calling them a dynasty at this point, and I just don't like that because I don't like the Chiefs. I don't think what is it? The 49ers, on the other hand, yeah, TTS works during the podcast. The 49ers, on the other hand, it's one of those things that's like, I don't mind the team. I want them to win. I don't think they're going to win because the Chiefs are, you know, for some reason, God mode right now. But I would have rather have wanted the Lions to be here. So I'll be rooting for the 49ers during the Super Bowl. But, you know, it's one of those things that's like, there's a hole in my heart. There's a hole in the earth, folks.
I am not sure if this will be heard on the podcast, but you hear that there are literal bets that Kelsey and Taylor Swift will announce that they are either having a child, or Kelsey will propose to her. Which do you think I should take?
I think the proposal is more likely. I think. Yeah, Taylor Swift, I think that, I don't think that she, okay, I'm not gonna, you know, I'm not gonna speculate too hard, but she tours a lot, she does a lot of stuff with her music. I don't think that she wants a kid right now, so I think that I you know, it's kind of creepy for me to say this, but I believe that they're using all the protection they can right now. But I could see, I could see Travis Kelce proposing. I know they've not been together for that long, but I don't think either of those things are going to happen, honestly. But you know, I feel like they kind of been like they've been together for 6 months now. Anyway, the 49ers, I'm rooting for them. I picked them, but I think the Chiefs are going to win in the, you know, in the back of my head, I think the Chiefs are going to win, and I think that it'll be another MVP, Super Bowl MVP for Mahomes. And, you know, at the end of the day, people will start asking, like, oh, is Mahomes really the GOAT? Who's Tom Brady? And I think that's what the NFL wants at this point. Even though, in the long run, I think Mahomes has a lot more trouble in his future. I don't think that his body's going to hold up. He takes plenty of hits during the season. He does a lot of crazy things. I think that he's going to deteriorate faster than Tom Brady, who was the check down king, let's be honest. Okay. 2, his family is kind of messed up right now, okay? And I'm not wishing for the downfall of Patrick Mahomes, but something tells me that in the future we'll have some sort of controversy with him, just by, you know, his brother and his dad have kind of gone the wrong directions, and I'm not trying to say that he will, but I think there'll be some sort of controversy with him in the near future. I don't know what it will be, but we'll see. What was I saying? And yeah, I think the NFL wants like the whole discussion to be there. I think no matter how poorly Patrick Mahomes plays in this game, and I know probably Deebo Samuel or Travis Kelce or whoever, Pachenko, will deserve MVP. I think no matter what, the Chiefs win this game, Patrick Mahomes gets the MVP trophy. On the other hand, the 49ers have a very different situation where it's like, oh, Christian McCaffrey could totally get the MVP super easily for the Super Bowl, right? He was up for MVP of the league, you know, for the awards, right? But Brock Purdy, the last person picked in the draft that year, Mr. What's the thing? Mr. Irrelevant. I feel like that could be history in the making right there. You know? The MVP going to Mr. Irrelevant, right? For the Super Bowl. But I do think that in the end, it's either going to be Deebo Samuel or Christian McCaffrey getting the MVP if the 49ers win. It's unlikely, but possible that Joey Bosa could get it if he plays a fantastic game. It's been I think it's been quite some time since a defensive player has gotten MVP for the Super Bowl.
Who?
Funny thing is, there's only been one time where the losing team had a player win MVP, and I believe it was like Cowboys Raiders or something like that a long time ago. And imagine this. Imagine the 49ers winning, and they give the MVP to Patrick Mahomes. Imagine a scenario where Patrick Mahomes loses the Super Bowl, and they give him MVP. Oh, but he threw more yards, and he made more plays. We're giving Patrick Mahomes the MVP because yeah. Oh boy, there is a crazy fucked up world where that could happen. Will it happen? Probably not, but it could happen. Somewhere, some timeline out there where the 49ers win in a rousing game of like 40-42 or something like that. They give the MVP to Patrick Mahomes. Some crazy game out there. All right, let's actually predict this one though. Like I said before, I picked the 49ers because I want them to win. In my heart though, I feel like the Chiefs are going to take it. But let's say that the 49ers do win. I feel like this is going to be a pretty even affair. I don't think it's going to be a one-sided matchup unless one team completely implodes. You know, everyone thought that the Buccaneers were going to lose that Super Bowl that they win against the Chiefs, and they ended up winning in a landslide. So, yeah, they'll give the MVP to Taylor Swift if the 49ers win. So yeah, if the 49ers do end up winning, I think it's going to be like a pretty average scoring affair. I think it's going to be like 26-21 or something like that. Maybe 27-21. Make it a touchdown. Yeah, I think the 49ers win 27-21. Because I think that both of these defenses are pretty good. I think that the pass rush for the 49ers is better. So that'll I think bottleneck Mahomes. They got Chase Young and Joey Bosa on both sides of the edge there. They could really trap him, put a spy on him as well. And yeah, I think that it's going to be a closer game because both these defenses are really good. The Chiefs defense has been playing pretty good. At the end of the day, I truly believe on paper the 49ers have the better team right now. Even if they're playing from behind, we've seen it. They can come back and get that momentum in their they go their way. So yeah, I'm predicting a 27-21 win for the 49ers. Now let's go the opposite direction here. If the Chiefs win, I think once again it'll be a kind of an average kind of score, but I think it'll be a boring Super Bowl if the Chiefs win. Why? Because both these defenses are really strong, and when the Chiefs went against the Ravens, it was a very low-scoring affair because neither team could get anything going on offense because their defenses were playing well. And the Chiefs weren't playing amazingly, but they played good enough. So let's flip this script here. If the Chiefs win, I'm predicting a 17-7 Super Bowl. Hate me later. That's my prediction. If the Chiefs win. Okay. Why is it so different? Because when Mahomes is playing from behind, like with if the 49ers win, something changes, right? He goes in the hero mode. He gets shit done, okay? Playing in the lead, though, a bit more conservative. Both defenses playing pretty good. Low-scoring game. 49ers winning, kicking ass. Chiefs playing from behind, playing catch-up. I think the Chiefs are able to get the score racked up a little bit more. So I think this is either going to be a pretty wild game. Not like Patriots-Eagles wild, but, pretty good game. Or it's going to be a pretty dull game like Rams-Patriots. Okay, so that's that. In my heart, 49ers. In my head, Chiefs. Which I know is kind of like a cop-out, but...
Over/under of incorrect calls from the referees. The line is at 3.
Super Bowl, big stage. Last year, it only took one bad call to have the Chiefs win. I'm going to say under. All they need is that one bullshit play, that one bullshit penalty. I think that the refs will sprinkle it in. I think it's gonna, because last year the Chiefs only needed that pass interference call to get them over the edge and win that game. I think the same thing here. I think that if it comes down to the wire, I think we'll see another similar play where the teams will be, the receivers and the defenders will be batting hands the entire game, but when the game is on the line for Patrick Mahomes, they'll throw the flag for pass interference, and that'll be the talk of the town. Or there'll be some like crazy helmet to helmet that won't get called on the Chiefs, or there'll be like a late hit on Mahomes that isn't really a late hit or something like that. It'll be something in that range. Here's another prediction. I think we're gonna see Patrick Mahomes do the waddle. And what I mean by that is when Patrick Mahomes has like an ankle injury or a leg injury, he waddles off the field like a guy who has poop in his diaper. Okay? I think that we'll see Patrick Mahomes waddle off the field, and everyone's going to be like, uh-oh. Tony Romo will be crying in the corner. Oh, my God, Patrick Mahomes, he's injured. But he won't actually be injured. He'll be out for, like, a play, get his ankle taped up, and come back in. That's my prediction. Another prediction, during the Super Bowl halftime show, a dog will run onto the field. And 50 Cent will pet the dog, and everyone will cheer. That's the wacky prediction. Another prediction, a Kansas City Chiefs cheerleader will kiss a player on the team randomly for a Super Bowl, for a touchdown celebration. It'll be consensual. Wild and crazy prediction for the 49ers. Okay? Sam Darnold comes in halfway through the game, gets 4 touchdowns. Crazy prediction for the 49ers.
What?
And then Sam Darnold MVP. All right. So that's that. That's the Super Bowl predictions. This will be completely aged by the time that the Super Bowl actually comes around. So keep that in mind if you're listening to the VOD that comes out a week later on YouTube and podcast platforms. The reason why I stagger it so much is because I have a very busy release schedule for the week that I do Ferret Cafe. So I want to space some things out so that they're not all in one clump. Because we got Film Freaks tomorrow, Ferret 64 on the weekend, Sunday. So it's just a very jam-packed schedule. So that's why I like to wait until the following Thursday to kind of space things out. Other than that, I don't really have much else to say other than thank you for coming to this episode of Ferret Cafe. Do appreciate everyone who was here for the live stream, of course. Anyone who is chatting in the chat as well. I do read everything that comes around, whether I say it or not. It's just kind of where I'm at in a thought. I don't want to like get myself off track or something like that. So, but I do appreciate everyone who's commenting here. If you yourself want to join the show or suggest topics, there is a section on the Discord for that called Ferret Cafe Topics. It's where I post the tentative topics for the following episode. It's also where you can tell me what you want me to talk about, and if you want to come on the show or not, you can pretty much just say, hey, I would like to join for this reason, and this is the topic that I would like to talk about. next coming episode, I will be planning on doing Seasoned Gamer Jeopardy again, which fell through this past week, but that is what I'm planning again for this week. I will post signups in the Discord again. We need at least 3 people. That's how Jeopardy works. I'm coming up with the topics. You don't have to come. I come up with the topics. I come up with the questions and topics. You don't need to worry about that. It's all in my hands. There is no input from you other than answering questions. So I need at least 3 people. If we don't get 3 people, then I have to pivot. You know, I need the pivot because it's going to be a lot of work. The Jeopardy thing is going to be a lot of work, and if I don't have the commitment from 3 people by the time that the following Thursday comes around, I need to pivot like this episode. And that'll become more and more difficult as we keep going to pivot every single time, because I do like to work the entire, you know, at least about a quarter of a week, 2 weeks almost. I like to work about 2 weeks on every single episode. So that is why if we don't get the required amount of signups by the time that the next Thursday comes around, I have to do something else. And I could start working on it, but like I said before, Jeopardy is 3 people. It's more fun with 3 people. It makes more sense. You know, it's more competitive. So there you go. And all the information for that is in the Discord right now in the Ferret Cafe topics section. So yes, also if you like what you hear, I also do a couple other podcasts. Ferret 64 is one of them. It's a video game podcast where I talk about video game news and occurrences. I already kind of plugged it a little bit, so I'm not going to hang on for too long. And I also do Film Freaks with a Z, where we talk about movies. Greedy Waffles on that. Next episode coming out tomorrow is Fight Club, if you want to check that out.
Who?
Callus is going to be there too. He's going to be on the next episode. And I stream on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday this coming week. I am planning to add Wednesday streams every time we do a Ferret Cafe podcast. It did get me a little bit off this week, so I don't know if I'm going to keep doing that, but we shall see.
Let's go.
This Saturday, we're playing Bayonetta 2. We should be able to finish it on Saturday. So there you go. The only reason I don't stream every day is because I need days of rest. I need days that I just come home and I do my own thing. You know, I gotta play games. I gotta play Helldivers. I gotta play Foam Stars. You know, I gotta do stuff. I gotta do, you know, get stuff ready. Quit my day job. Who am I? Who am I, Lucy? Anyway, folks, that's it for me. I hope you all had a great time on the podcast listening. I'm YemmytheFerret, and I'm out of here. Have a good night, folks. Au revoir.